Hi, this is Alex S. Johnson, and I'm going to be reading today from a story entitled Reynaldo, the World's Smallest Circus Bear, which is from my collection entitled The Doom Hippies, and which is available on Amazon and in print and Kindle. So, without further ado, Reynaldo, the world's smallest circus bear. Just from looking at him, few would guess that by the time Reynaldo, the world's smallest circus bear, crossed the Bone City fairgrounds on his unicycle, his reputation as a liar, thief, con artist, and other darker charges had grown exponentially. Small town sheriffs shook their heads in dismay as they listened to tales of the 1-foot earth sign. Cute as can be, but a real shit. His career of mischief began almost as soon as he was born. A spark from his first blunt set the forest ablaze. Allegations of wire fraud, Ponzi schemes, arson, robbery, and general mayhem attributed to the bear were all but impossible to pin on him. His brown button eyes radiated innocence. His fur was well fluffed, and when his store of patter failed him, he dazzled unbelievers with a mind-boggling array of acrobatics and trick-riding skills. It was a warm day in late July when the shadow of the unicycle fell on the main tent of Circus Berserkus, the craziest show on earth. Without pausing to say a word, Reynaldo pulled the unicycle up the rope ladder that led to the tightrope, sat atop his 3-foot ride, and began to pedal. The gimp, who had fallen asleep on a hay bale, woke to the spectacle of a tiny bear spinning around the tightrope so fast he was almost a blur. He peered down the neck of his whiskey bottle and poured out the last few drops, swearing off the drink until the DTs passed. Then the bear began to juggle, first ordinary elements such as balls, then proceeding to butcher knives, cleavers, skewers, tongs, and finally chainsaws, which completed a mini-cycle in the air a half-second after the bear had returned to the ground, where he waited until they fell and used them like stilts. There was no doubt that the bear was an audacious trailblazer, whose act combined elements of extreme danger with split-second precision and an air of grace. Plus, he was so soft and cuddly that any suspicion of darker levels melted away with a winsome smile and the perking of little ears. Reynaldo never lacked for an audience or ready cash. Money seemed to flow to his paws by virtue of some new force in nature. Even when he rested, there was something about him that made people want to give all they had. Naturally, Reynaldo capitalized on this, invented poignant narratives, hard luck stories that painted him as the plucky survivor of hardship. According to one of his tales, he had been snatched from the forest as a cub by unscrupulous clowns who had used him as a drug mule when they weren't subjecting him to bizarre sexual experiments. He complained of misuse by little people as well, indicating with a shudder and a well-timed paw over the eyes that he didn't want to talk about it. All the while, Reynaldo kept his bright button-like peepers open for opportunities to exploit what he discerned as the endless credulity of most humans. He realized that as long as he kept up a facade of innocence, he could get away with almost anything his heart desired. He desired many things, not all of them material or tangible. Most of all, he sought applause and attention, the power to compel obedience, to gratify an ever-increasing list of fetishes, kinks, perversions, and simply acts he hadn't tried yet. The power, ultimately, of a tyrant. What he wanted he would have: girls, drugs, powders, potions, gold bullion, wine, food, expensive outfits, a turbocharged upgrade on his unicycle, fast cars, membership in the most exclusive clubs, exotic adventure, or bionic implants that increased his strength and agility 1,000-fold. Yet, Reynaldo's path was not altogether smooth. Women in 10 states pursued him for non-payment of child support after bearing his hirsute half-human progeny. A pimp in Detroit put out a hit on the bear after he poached several hoes for his own personal harem. Forensic experts pored over evidence, a clump of hair here, a honey trail there, but when the police net closed in, Reynaldo always found a way to slip through at the last second. The bear's adroit escapes fed his ego until he began to believe he was invulnerable, which is how he nearly met his Waterloo. A rest stop in Portland, Oregon saw Reynaldo slumming it, but for the short days in the freezing cold, he enjoyed his stay in the Pacific Northwest. He became popular with the downtown arts crowd, and his exhibitions of tumbling, juggling, and magic tricks drew large crowds to coffee shops and galleries. For a short time, he became the mascot of a circle of small press authors. Reynaldo began to relax and even enjoy himself, expanding his repertoire into tarot readings. One day, after convincing a well-developed freshman at the University of Oregon that her destiny lay in the arms of a small bear, he walked out of the metaphysical bookstore where he worked to sip a can of Coke and smoke a cigarette. After chugging the soda and stubbing out the butt, he looked around for a trash can. Finding none in the vicinity, he crumpled up the can and tossed it in the gutter. Within minutes, Reynaldo heard the blare of sirens. A crowd began to gather on the opposite street. He looked around, confused, when he saw that they were pointing at him. A chant began to well up, punctuated with angry cries of "litterbug" and "get that bear."